difficult for many of us, despite the wonderful ending. We hear words from Jesus that have been used for much of our lives to shame people, to keep people in abusive relationships, and to increase brokenness and alienation in this world. The irony, of course, is that Jesus' intent is never to increase brokenness, alienation, or shame. Jesus' own context oftentimes gets lost in the midst of our contexts. In Jesus' day, women were understood as property. In marriage, they went from being the property of their father to being the property of their husband. As property, they were about as valuable as the children they could produce. They were provided for by whoever owned them, and they had no right to file for divorce. Men, however, could file for divorce. As you might imagine, this was problematic. After all, if a woman is her husband's property, and then her husband divorces her, whose property does she become? If she no longer belongs to anybody, then how does she survive? Who provides for and cares for her? Chances are high she will live the rest of her life in poverty, with begging and prostitution as her only ways to provide for herself. Within this context, Jesus' words begin to fall in line with what God is doing and has been doing since the beginning. Our God is a God of relationship, and a God who wants love and relationship for us. The creation account we read today from Genesis 2 is an early attempt by God to provide some sort of relationship and love for us. This first human being is just hanging out when God, like many well-intentioned couples I've known over the years, comes along and says, "You're lonely. I know just the thing. Here, let me help. How about this animal? A cow, you call it. Yes, how about a cow? Will that help you be less lonely? No? Well, what about this lion? A lion, surely that will help. No? Dangerous? What about a snake? Oh, maybe not a snake. I know. A dog. No dogs? No. What about a snail? That's nice and carried in your pocket. Might get squished. Oh, I have the perfect thing. A porcupine. That is the perfect thing. That will help you be in a relationship. No, that doesn't work either. Well, I'll tell you what. You go to sleep. I'll figure it out. Good morning. Oh, your side hurts? Oh, well, I don't know what that's about. But guess what I have for you? Look, another human. Just for you. A human from hummus. Earth creatures from the earth. Just like you, of the same material. You too. I think that will work. God searches and searches and eventually comes up with the idea of two humans from hummus, two earth creatures from the earth, of one substance, joined together as equals. At the start, it's just the human and God, but God is quick to realize that humans need relationships that are a bit more tangible. So God comes up with pets, companion animals. For many people, their relationship with their pets is one of care and concern, and through that relationship, they are able to nurture and steward love. This is especially apparent in the relationships people can have with their guide animals. For some people, this is enough. God's first attempt works. But for many, relational beings, and in creating us of the same substance, God creates beings who have more in common than not. God creates humans as relational beings so that we can be in relationship with each other. It is God's intent that we nurture and steward love, and so we are able to do that by being in relationship with each other. Friends, family, by choice or by blood or by adoption, loved ones, and still pets. Jesus continues this pattern of adapting to our needs. First, God becomes incarnate. Recognizing our need for tangible relationship, Jesus comes in the flesh to be in relationship with us and to steward God's love for us. This love of God and among us continues to expand as in Hebrews, as well as earlier in Mark 3, we have yet another way of understanding the relationship and love we share. This time through Jesus Christ. In Hebrews, we hear that Jesus is not ashamed to call us brothers and sisters, saying, "I will proclaim your name to my brothers and sisters. In the midst of the congregation, I will praise you." And in Mark 3, when Jesus is confronted with a worried mother and worried siblings who think he might be crazy, he declares that all those gathered with him are his brothers and sisters and mothers. Jesus continues the pattern of redefining relationships and providing more ways to nurture and steward love. Recognizing that we as humans also change and need to have ways to steward love that fit who we are. Here in today's reading from Mark, we encounter another redefinition. If the current relationship setup is that a woman could be left destitute at the whim of her husband, Jesus brings relationships of love and mutuality back to the forefront, back to God's intent. Holding those with power, in this case the man, responsible. Ownership means taking responsibility, a countercultural move even today, as we are bombarded with messages that if something is slow, broken, or lackluster, we are to throw it away and get something newer, faster, shinier. Our responsibility, our stewardship of things, of love, of life, is a countercultural move. Care for and stewardship of what we own, of those whom we love, and of creation, all go against the culture of immediate gratification found on TV sets, in the newspaper, and on billboards just about everywhere. As Christians, we are invited into a new way of being in which we are given responsibilities in our relationships, with creation and with each other, so that we might be good stewards of those relationships and work to live God's love in our lives. Jesus provides parameters so that we know God's intent for us, to be stewards of the relationships we have to each other. Jesus helps us to take responsibility for those relationships and gives power to those with less power. Jesus speaks of women divorcing men, which opens the opportunity for women to get out of a relationship, not for the purpose of getting into a newer, shinier, faster one, but to get out of a bad situation. Jesus also calls the children to him. Children, especially babies, were, and to a great extent still are, humans with astonishingly little power in the family. Yet Jesus is indignant that the disciples try to keep the children from being brought to him. These children were probably sick and sorry, poor, and perhaps not long for life. But they are blessed by Jesus. Jesus comes to them and blesses them, nurturing love for them. All of this is not to say that life is perfect or that everyone has their special someone and will find them and that's the end. It's not. Sometimes we don't get the relationships we want. It's a fact of life. Some who want marriage never find that special someone. Marriages end in divorce or early death. People break up. Commitments are broken with abuse. Some people have no desire for romantic relationships. And even when we do have the relationship we want, it never seems to fit what we're told we should have. At least I have yet to receive that magic kiss and happy forever after, and I definitely do not know anyone with 2.7 kids. We are broken and sinful people, and pain happens. And we are diverse and saintly people, and joy happens. And yet somehow in the midst of it all, we are still drawn together, drawn into relationship with each other. If two people decide to be in a publicly accountable lifelong relationship, they have the opportunity to come together before God and their community to commit themselves to each other. While I was in Slovakia, I missed out on a wedding I really wanted to go to. As the liturgical nerd that I am, when I visited the newly married couple, I got really excited about their wedding liturgy. They had very intentionally crafted it together. The commitments they made were both idealistic and realistic, committing to try their best and recognizing that they would need help. They committed themselves to growing as individuals and together, as well as being open to the challenges they presented to each other. The thing that struck me the most was that, knowing especially that they wanted to have kids, they included, throughout my life, regardless of the shape of our relationship, we will be in it together. They recognized that they didn't know the future and couldn't say for certain, but that no matter what, they will be in each other's lives in some way. They recognized their marriage for what it is, a joining of lives and a commitment to being involved with each other. There's a reason Jesus quotes Genesis, that the two shall become one flesh. In relationships, we join together. There is no way to cleanly separate ourselves. And that's part of what Jesus is getting at. Getting into a relationship after divorce does not and cannot heal the brokenness that comes with the end of a relationship, with divorce. It can create new life and can nurture new love, but it will never erase the past relationship. Throughout today's readings and throughout the Bible, God continues to redefine what it means to be in relationship with animals, with creation, with people, with friends and family, with each other. God is always there, providing ever newer ways of being stewards of love, of being in relationship, of being family with each other. Because the reality is, we are all family. Every Sunday, we get to experience God's extra chances to be stewards of God's love. We begin here at the baptismal font, remembering our baptisms, joining into this family of God. We confess our brokenness, and we are forgiven through the waters of baptism. Then we come to the table together as broken people to feast on a body broken for us. Jesus comes to us and gives us and our relationships new ways to love and to steward God's love over and over each week. And thanks be to God